is after him. That could be picked off by Colt Cruz at the 28. He's loose. He's going to go all the way. Touchdown, Tigers.
Get it on the jet sweep to the short side. Up the sideline. Sam McCaffrey. He is gone. Touchdown, Ottawa.
Wilder's going to catch it right at the 50. Looking for some room coming down here to the bottom to the left. He's got a lot of room. Watch out. He's gone. He's gone, Coach. Wilder's going to take that 50 yards for a score. Bulldogs on the board.
Welcome back to the Black Swamp Football Podcast presented by the Gerken Companies. On to week number 7 for Ohio high school football. We got a couple of dandy conference matchups. Got another one in the NLL this week too that could portray what's upcoming.
Boy, curious to see if Whitmer can bounce back. And for Perrysburg, maybe the worst thing that could have happened for them.
Could be, or does Mike Ward get some things on film that he can use to slow down that vaunted Whitmer attack again?
He might. And then maybe it benefits Perrysburg. Whitmer's got to have a little doubt swirling around there. The coaches will work really hard this week trying to build them up. You know, they say you can tear them down after a win, but you got to build them up after a loss. That's a tough one. Whitmer's got some things to figure out, and Anthony Wayne did it the old school way, ground and pound.
Perrysburg could set up a big Week 10 matchup at Anthony Wayne. It still could be big, though. It's probably going to have some significance.
Yeah.
Could create a 2-3 white tie atop the NLL Buckeye division as we go forward.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the Cardinal division, there's a chance for a log jam there as well, the way things are shaking out. So a lot of parity in the NLL, with the exception of maybe a couple of programs.
BVC, Liberty Benton, Pandora Gilboa, big matchup in the Blanchard Valley this week, in the Henry County Clash in the NWAL. Liberty Center going to Patrick Henry, one that we will have on our Gamecast presented by 3 Chord this week.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. I think, I know we're not picking it, but can the Patrick Henry defense, to me, this is where it begins and ends. Can they get Liberty Center off schedule and make them uncomfortable? Get them in, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6 or more, as opposed to, giving up 5, 6, 7 yards rushing on first down like most teams do. It's going to be a monumental challenge, but if anyone is going to be prepared and have a scheme ready for their kids, it's going to be Patrick Henry.
A series that Liberty Center has dominated here in recent years. We'll get into that here a little bit later on our show and also on Friday night. Flying without our colleague this week, Neil Schuller. Business has taken him out of the state, so Neil, enjoy your trip. Hopefully all goes well, and we'll hopefully get you back here next Monday.
That's how Il Schuller, he was roaming those sidelines at Schuller Stadium Friday night in those conditions, man.
He didn't go in the press box? Are we sure?
I think I saw Jeff Sleesman.
But that was pregame. Did he migrate up later as he got a little wet?
There's a good chance.
I don't know that Schuller can take the elements.
I'd be curious. We don't have him here to verify it. I do know that Andy Brungard sent a message home with Neil Schuller, because I was texting with Coach Brungard Friday night, and it was fresh in his mind that I picked against the Generals. And he said, I sent a note with Schuller. Make sure you read it. And I tried to dodge it and say, hey, congratulations, big win. And all he wanted to go back to was, just make sure you see what I sent with Schuller. So Neil's not here tonight.
Have you seen it yet?
Have not seen it. Neil hasn't even hinted to me what it might be. But we'll see. But
maybe that's the reason Schuller isn't here. Brungard took care of him on Friday night and gave him a little tongue lashing, and Schuller's not recovered.
He might have just used the work.
Used the excuse, the work excuse.
It's probably been done before. And
does that have some legs to it, that story?
We'll have to verify it, but I don't know if Neil would ever admit it, but I can talk to Coach Brungard. And Coach Brungard, he's running things right now, man. I mean, he's like a mob boss right now. Who's going to mess with him?
Good point. We all picked against him. We got nothing to say.
No.
Sorry, Coach.
No. Man, you could tell in Neil's interviews with those Anthony Wayne kids after the game. I watched them all. Oh, man, I think they could have played another 4 quarters. I'm not kidding, man. They were all jacked up.
Wow.
And it was impressive. You could tell they felt like they had something to prove. And man, oh, man, did they ever.
Added to our collection this week, Tenora Rams jersey over there, courtesy of the great Keith Brown, who has helped us out over the years and at Tenora Rams Live.
Yep. Good man, Keith Brown is.
I don't know that jersey's ever been worn. That thing is white.
I'll tell you what, it is nice, and I know, I remember seeing their new ones in some photos. They're a little bit different, but for my money, that's the best jersey. I like how clean it is.
Yeah, that's nice. Got a couple Ayersville jerseys over there that we're going to have just for tonight. Braden Martin gave those to us to use for our Ayersville football show. 50 years of Ayersville football, as Craig McCord and some former players will be here later. Go to our YouTube channel to view that. If you watch our podcast on YouTube, you can just go right to our football show link presented by KK Collision, and you can watch the Ayersville guys as well.
Man, it's crazy. 50 years.
50 years.
I was born in 75. I'm 49 years old, so the Ayersville football program is a year older than me.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to think about. Those jerseys have some miles on them. Lynn, back then, there were really 2 main brands, Champion and Russell Athletic.
Yeah.
And then you had some Sand Knit was, another old school brand. But
I think those are from about the mid-90s, if I'm going to guess.
That'd be about right. The blue one, to me, looks like mid-90s. The long sleeves were real big. Now, they were big through the 80s, too. But that's awesome.
Got some mini helmets as well out in front of us. The original helmet with Snoopy on there.
Love it.
Copyright issues. They can no longer use those.
Love it.
I think I have those in order of how they went. Maybe I think I got the last 2 right. Should ask Braden for his insight. Original.
The very first helmet under Craig McCord when the program started had Snoopy.
Yep.
That is awesome.
Second one there did too. They went a couple decades there with just the Navy without any emblem or logo on them in the 80s.
Interesting. And this is something we can ask in our coaches show, but curious why the switch to the Navy? Ayersville's done that over the years. Sometimes you see a lot of the light blue. Is there an official name? Is it like Columbia blue or something? I think the official name for that, some people call it Carolina blue. Yeah. I think Columbia blue.
Well, I know who we need to have here is Dick Baldwin. He's a historian on Ayersville.
Yes, he is.
He would know. I know I'm a grad, but I'm not quite up to date on all that knowledge. He's told me over the years, but I've forgotten it.
Dick Baldwin would know, and Craig McCord will know.
We have Bill Andrus here. Bill will know.
That's neat, man.
Yeah. That's neat. Looking forward to having those guys here with us later on tonight on our show here at American Freedom Energy, Grandma's General Store here in Liberty Center. Thank you to American Freedom Energy for hosting us again. Also to our other sponsors, the Swanton Welding Company, K. Kern Painting, and also White Pines Golf Course. We have to hand out our rock solid performance from week number 6 last week. We're going to take a break here from the Gerken companies, come back and give some nominations and hand out the award for week number 6.
Who says a college degree is the only path to a fulfilling career? At the Gerken Companies, we offer rewarding livelihoods with or without a degree. Gerken provides a generous benefits package, continuous training, top-notch equipment, and a culture that rewards effort. We're looking for rock-solid performers to help build and reinforce the region's infrastructure. Whether you have construction experience or are just starting your career, apply now at GerkenCompanies.com/careers.
Thank you again to the Gerken Companies for sponsoring our podcast and also our rock solid performance. Also want to thank the Gerken Companies. They are going to be the official title sponsor of our basketball podcast coming up this winter.
Boy, how fortunate are we to be partnered with the Gerken Companies. I don't know that any business entity in the state of Ohio has the reputation of excellence that the Gerken Companies has. So cannot thank them enough for throwing their support behind us. And any questions about whether we were going to have a basketball podcast have been answered.
Yes, they have.
That's
Put
awesome.
kibosh to that this morning. I heard from
great.
the Gerken Companies that they're all on board to sponsor that, and we're also going to do some game casts. They said they would sponsor some basketball game casts, so you'll be on the air for those with
Would love to.
Dave Krause.
Yep. Paul Wayne are two at the front of my mind. Even maybe, depending where we venture, Jerry Snodgrass would probably be willing if Coach Krause and Coach Wayne aren't able to, but looking forward to doing that. I love doing basketball. Football is my baby, obviously, like yours, but basketball is pretty special to me, too.
I was going to text you today and tell you that, but you didn't have any phone service.
Boy.
Verizon service was out around this area, and it sounds like around the nation today.
Yeah, it was.
You didn't know what to do with yourself.
No.
You always, I wish I didn't have a phone, and then the day you
I know.
don't have a phone,
I know.
nervous Nelly.
So I get right before, so most of the service, and we're going to have a lot of listeners that are going to say, yeah, that happened to me today. But it was hit and miss. So my wife and I's cell service was out, but our 3 kids were fine. And so they're trying to text us today, but we didn't know, And so my daughter Taylor texted me right before we lost the service. I lost my service between 10:30 and 11. She sent me a text, Dad, call me ASAP. When your kid that's at college says, call me ASAP, your hair stands up a little bit. So I get back to my classroom and I said, hey, who's got cell service here? And about half the class raised their hand, and the other half didn't have it. They had the SOS up there like I did. So there's a young man in class, real nice young man. I said, I'm going to ask a favor. Can I borrow your phone to call my daughter since you have actual bars? And great kid, Blake Ryman. And so I stepped out in the hall and called my daughter and got that done. But we take that for granted, man.
Yeah.
I do. I wish we could all throw these in social media and just throw them in the river. But boy, when you don't have it.
You need it, yeah.
Yeah, geez. So some of our listeners are going to be able to sympathize, and others are going to go, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but you got it back now, so you're going to be okay moving forward.
Going to be
able to function the rest of the night here.
Going to be okay.
Don't want you off your game.
No, and so I was going to tweet something because, we had Wi-Fi, but no cell service, couldn't send, receive texts. And so I was going to post something like on X or Twitter and just say, hey, if you've been trying to reach me, I can't. But
celebrity like you got to do that.
Yeah.
You got a lot of.
But some people would say, yeah, he never gets back to me anyway. I mean, I didn't get back to my own sister last week, and she sent me a text.
That's why she came in here to Rise and Rewind at 8 a.m. She wanted a piece of you.
And she wanted me to have to face her, because it's one thing to do things, behind the phone. She wanted me to have to face her. And so
she came in here with a purpose.
She did. She had that look in her eye, and luckily we were on the air. And I did, even I think we had a commercial plan, but I acted like, I was busy. Yeah. It's another trick of the trade here.
Love it. I love it. A rock solid performance from week 6. I have some nominations. Neil Schuller does too. Evergreen, big home win over Archbold. Fairview, victory over Paulding, a game that we called on the Gamecast. And if you want to listen to it again or missed it, it is on our website, blackswampfootball.com. Go to the Gamecast archive. You can find all of our Gamecasts there and also all of our Rise and Rewind shows as well on there. Apaches with the win. Evergreen, a big one. How about Ottawa Glandorf? Can I throw them in there? 26-0 over Lima Bath. Blanked the Wildcats, who were off to their best start in over 2 decades. Yep. Bath was averaging 42 points per game entering the game, and almost 500 yards. They just put the clamps on them. Now, I know the weather was not great, but still, that's impressive on that Friday night to do what Ken Schreiner and his crew have done. They've struggled here the last couple of years, but boy, they're showing their mettle a little bit here in 2024 and bouncing back in a big way. Also, throw another one in there, a game that Neil Schuller had. Go to his X Twitter page. You can see all of his interviews and some highlights as well from that game. Neil Schuller, just Neil Schuller, I believe, on X.
Yeah,
N-E-I-L.
Neil Schuller, S-C-H-U-L-L-E-R.
Correct. Yep. And his other nomination was Anthony Wayne. The Generals made a statement in that blowout win over Division I's top scoring offense in Whitmer, who came in averaging 41 points per game. Anthony Wayne allowed 9 rushing yards on 13 attempts and 134 total yards passing. Also ran for 311 yards on 50 attempts. Grant Kinney led the running attack with 201 yards and a score on 22 keepers. He had an 88-yard touchdown, Joel, on that one. Braden Gardner also had 63 yards and a touchdown on the ground for the Generals, and Gardner also caught a 17-yard touchdown pass. 27-3, Anthony Wayne. That would be my pick, unless you want to throw somebody else in there. That was impressive.
All of, I want to go back to Ottawa Glandorf for just a second, Lynn, and their woes the last couple of years have been well documented. Here they sit, and I know it's early, but they actually have 4 winnable games to close out the season. They're 3-3, sitting at number 11 in the playoff region right now. So what a kind of a resurgence for Ottawa Glandorf. That's good to see. But for my money, when we look back, Anthony Wayne's performance Friday night may very well end up being the rock-solid performance of the season, let alone of the week. I don't know that anyone has recorded a more impressive victory in our Black Swamp area this year, than Anthony Wayne did Friday night. I don't know how we could even look anywhere else, although the other nominees are worthy.
Yeah, Whitmer, boy, they've put up some points, and it's not like they played a kind of a bad schedule. They've played some folks. I know Dublin Kaufman isn't having the year that they normally have, but played Central Catholic tough. They played Clay. They pounded Southview, and then ran into a buzzsaw last week in Anthony Wayne. And they have several Division I guys on that team.
Carter Lowe's going to Ohio State.
Yeah,
that's impressive. But I don't want to say they're immune to it, but they're not fazed by it, because I remember when they played Mr. Montgomery, the offensive lineman at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Ryan Montgomery.
Luke was the lineman.
Or Luke.
Ryan's
Luke,
the quarterback.
Ryan's brother.
Hurt. Yep.
Yeah, he's playing offensive line for Findlay, and you know what? Anthony Wayne, they don't have anybody going to Ohio State, I can tell you that, but they'll lock horns with them and duke it out, and the proof, and they did it the way I think you have to do it, Lynn, is you've got to ground and pound. If you try to just play match up, on the flanks with these guys and get into a track meet, the game probably plays out a little differently, and Andy Brungard knew that. He knew exactly what he was doing going into this, and I guarantee you, he might not admit it, he felt really good before that game, and his kids had his back.
Yeah, they did. So congratulations to the Generals and Anthony Wayne. Week 6, Gerken Company's rock-solid performance. Robbie Myers and I will get over there Thursday and deliver the bracelets and give a quick speech to the Generals as they move into the last month of the season. So congrats, Anthony Wayne. Boy, that was, like you said, that may be the most impressive win that we'll see all year, the way they did it.
Yes.
The scoring fashion that they did it.
Yeah, I think if they'd have won 27-24, we'd have been impressed.
Right. But 27-3,
yeah,
wow.
Put the exclamation mark on that.
Yep, absolutely. Congratulations, Anthony Wayne. We'll get those bracelets to you here later in the week. Neil Schuller's Game 1 Players of the Week for Week 6 on offense. Honorable mention, just mentioned him, Braden Gardner of Anthony Wayne. Had a nice night in that victory over Whitmer. His Offensive Player of the Week, courtesy of Game 1, is going to be Grant Kinney, the quarterback. 201 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns there. On the defensive side, he's going Co.
I saw that.
Co-winners, Anthony Wayne linebackers Kyle Weimer and Cassius Kruger.
Cassius Kruger's interview after the game with Neil, he needed to be in a cage, man. That dude was so jacked up after the game, and that's when I said earlier, I think they could have played another 4 quarters. He's the main one I was alluding to. And then Grant Kenny, the offensive player of the game, all the credit to his offensive line. That's a great leader right there. And, Grant Kenny knows how valuable he is, but he doesn't want any of the credit. He deflects it to those linemen who get very little praise.
Very humble kid. And
yes, he is.
Always is crediting the teammates around him, which is great to see.
Yep.
Let's get to our standings after last week. You went 28-5. Schuller and myself were 27-6, and Braden Martin, our accountant, was 26-8. So the overall standings, you still got a 4-game lead on me, Strock. 170-30 is your record. I am 169-34, 4 back. Braden is 5.5 games back, 171-39, and Neil Schuller 164-40. He is 9.5 games back. He's got a lot of ground to make up here in the last month.
So did the Detroit Tigers.
I don't know that he's the Detroit Tigers, though.
I don't want to say it, but he's not.
Is he?
He's not. No, he's not, because there just isn't enough wiggle room. I was looking at his picks because he sent them to us since he's going to be absent tonight, and they're pretty similar to what I had. I think there's maybe 2 that are different that I think are razor thin, so we'll see. But I'm
feeling pretty confident.
Yeah,
I'm going to start reeling you in here.
Well, you better get going, because
I've been kind of flipping between 3 and 4 back here about the last month, but I'm gonna start making my move here the last month once these games get a little more challenging to pick. I feel like this week's a little tougher than we've had in the last month.
There are some tough ones this week, but you got to be careful with me. As we've learned, the further I get away from you, the more
I'm gonna be like that starting pitcher you guys got up there in Detroit.
Yeah, Skubal,
yeah.
Tarek Skubal, Triple Crown.
Yep.
Jeez, what a year he had. Good Lord. I thought they were going to unload him, I thought they were going to unload him, and they kept him, and look at him now. They have the Astros tomorrow. I was hoping for Baltimore, but...
Are you able to wheel in a TV in your classroom? What time does that start?
My son will know, but...
2:30?
Yeah, it's afternoon, yeah. I was thinking 3:30, but 2:30. And I'll check score updates. Boy, the Braves blew one. I know, that'll be... I
don't know what's going on here in the second game of that doubleheader, but...
Yeah, they blew a 7-6 lead in the bottom of the 8th, and then in the 9th, they ended up losing 8-7, I think.
Yeah, they did.
The Mets.
Yeah. Francisco Lindor hit a homer. I had the game on in the background. I was doing some work, and hit a homer to give them the victory. So the Mets are in. The Braves need to win to get in, or the Diamondbacks, I believe, get in.
Okay.
Get the final wild card. Now, I don't know how much the Mets are going to... what they're going to do in Game 2, because they don't have nothing to play for. Just keep the Braves out.
Right.
That'll be interesting. Yeah. Back in our day, Bill Andrus is going to be here later. He taught junior high history. And whenever the Indians were on, if there was a big game that the Indians were in and it was on during the school hours, we could get Bill Andrus to wheel in that. You remember they had those TVs on those carts?
Yep.
And he'd wheel that baby in there. Come on, Mr. Andrus. Come on, we got to watch the Indians. And it didn't take much. And he'd go out in one of the closets and he'd wheel that TV in there. He's retired now, so I can say.
Yeah, the old TV had a strap on it to keep it from falling off the cart.
He'd wheel that baby in there.
Yep.
Indians opening day when they opened up the Gerken, was that 95, I think?
Yeah, that's
we got him to wheel that baby in there. We watched the Indians game during class, and if they were in the playoffs in October during the day, we could get him to bring that baby in there.
I love it. And it wasn't as easy to do back then. Those guys were a little more stringent, So you guys must have been persuasive. And now, we have projectors and everything's digital, and you just put it up on your big screen, and like NCAA tournament. I mean, that thing's going all day in my room.
Is it?
Yeah. Yep. It's always on. I'll turn the volume off if we're doing something, and then then when the kids are working, and they can watch. But
I figured it'd be harder now than it was back then to do it.
yeah, it's not.
Well, I guess you do have all those projectors in there.
Yeah, it just click, 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 and boom, and
The academic kids back in the day, the kids that wanted to get the education,
Yeah.
they were not happy when they started watching the ball games.
No, they felt like they were being cheated, and then they may still now, but I haven't gotten any complaints. I can tell you that. I have not gotten any. But when you were a kid and you walked in your classroom and you see, things on social media like this, but when you saw the old TV sitting there or the film strip or movie projector, that was going to be a good day, right?
Oh,
It's going to be a good day.
That was good stuff. All right, let's get into our picks here. What do you think about the Tigers? They gonna get the wild card before we go into our picks here?
I don't like it, Lynn.
But you're a pessimist.
Yeah, but anybody but the Astros, man. Anybody but the Astros. I didn't want that matchup. We were in Houston. I don't like it. I don't like it, but they got a chance to win when Skubal pitches. We know that. And Torkelson, after spending what seemed like half the season down in Toledo, has kind of found his groove, and they're playing with confidence. So I don't know. They're young enough. They don't know any better.
If they get by the Astros, will you get up to an ALDS game at Comerica?
So I promised my son if he could get away, which is a long shot, we will find tickets and go. So yeah, yep. If we get there, then I think we'll go.
Okay.
So
nice.
Have to for him.
Yeah.
I don't deserve to.
He's a young buck. He's going to get more of these.
Yeah, he is. Yes. But I bailed on him a long time ago, so I don't deserve.
You bailed on the Lions too. You're a non-believer in the Lions.
I know. We'll find out Monday night tonight. As we're recording this. And it may be released as that game's going on. We'll see where they're at. I don't feel good tonight
we could
at
just
home.
throw it on the TV in here.
We could. I don't feel good about it.
Jeez, you're the biggest pessimist I've ever seen in my life.
I don't feel good about it, man. I'm cautious. I've had my heart broken too many times, Lynn. I've had my heart just ripped out too many times, and so I have my guard up now.
Man,
I ain't gonna let it happen again.
Wow. I got to talk to your dad and Grant.
They're more confident than I am, I'll tell you that.
You got to get behind your team, man.
My dad told Normie Zider before the season even started, Tigers are a playoff team. And Normie remembered that.
Wow.
About a month and a half ago, he thought.
Bird Dog's a smart man.
He is. And he was probably sweating.
You didn't get any of that knowledge passed on to you, did you?
I didn't. I just got. Bird Dog's more calculated, more reserved, more calculated. I'm more fly by the seat of my pants, spew whatever's on my mind. So maybe with age, I'll get better.
All right, well, let's see how you do with high school football this week. We're going to start in the TAC. First couple aren't too difficult, though. I don't know that we're going to test your knowledge too much. Bomber ball on the road at Northwood. Eden 6-0, 1-0 in the TAC. Northwood 3-3, 0-1 in the TAC. Neil Schuller says Bomber ball rolls through Northwood.
Yeah, and Northwood's, their recipe is going to be to muck it up and try to shorten the game and maybe get a couple turnovers. But at the end of the day, Bomber ball is what it is, and I think they're going to roll. I really do.
I like Eden as well in that matchup all around for us. Bomber ball gets it done here in Week 7 as we roll to that Week 10 game in the Village. Talking about the Village, they're at home this week, Ottawa Hills against Hilltop, who is coming off of a bye. The Cadets 1-4. Ottawa Hills has reeled off 5 in a row since losing to Gibsonburg to open up the season. I got the Green Bears. Big night for the Pillarelli brothers. Chase Miller's going to throw for some yardage. I think they can name their score in this one.
Yeah, they can, and I don't think the starters will play the whole game there, Lynn, in that one. And again, Eden and Ottawa Hills on a collision course, as you've said, and both teams just want to get there healthy to set the stage Week 10. A week ago, Montpelier early, kind of hung in there with Eden. Mm-hmm. That surprised you at all, maybe at the first couple score updates or not?
A little bit. I don't know how much the weather had to maybe play into that. If Montpelier had the wind at their back early, I don't know.
Good point.
We'd have to get some more info, I think. But yeah, a little bit surprised that they kept it that close that long.
I think so too. So we'll see.
Yeah, Ottawa Hill's also the pick for Neil Schuller this week. We're going to take another break and come back and talk about the Northern 8 and 8-man action this week. K. Kern Painting is a proud sponsor of Northwest Ohio Athletics. K. Kern Painting was formed in 1998 by Kinsey Kern in Toledo and now has a footprint in Toledo, Cleveland, and Michigan, and has road crews traveling throughout the United States. For a free estimate or job opportunities with K. Kern Painting, visit their website at kkernpainting.com or call 419-351-1250 or stop by their Toledo location at 211 North Reynolds Road. Welcome back to the Black Swamp Football Podcast presented by the Gerken Company's 8-man action this week. Going to start with Danbury playing Toledo Christian, who is 5-0, 3-0 in the Northern 8. Heavy favorite to win the state championship in Ohio again in the 8-man division. Carter Kester already up to 579 yards, 9 TDs on 21 catches. Quarterback Tyler Grace, 44 of 65, over 1,000 yards, 15 touchdowns. Another favorite target of his has been Josiah Hillrich, 15 catches, 317 yards, 6 TDs. I've been told to talk about that Toledo Christian defense, so I'm going to. They have outscored their conference foes 172-20, and it's 5 opponents overall, 234-27, 56 tackles for loss as a team, and 11 sacks through 5 games. That's over 10 tackles for loss per game by this Eagles defense. Boy, what a wrecking crew, and just as good as that offense is that defensive side. Most of the guys that play on offense are also playing on that defense.
Yeah, it's funny. When you ask kids a lot of times, do you prefer offense or defense? Almost all the linemen will tell you defense. Yep. Skill guys, especially if it's somebody that scores a lot of touchdowns and that, probably prefer offense. But the defense, offense gets all the headlines. Defense, man, they're just so under-celebrated at all levels. We watched Columbus Grove the first few weeks, and we're just in awe of Trenton Barraza and that offense and how efficient they are. And then after a few weeks, we're like, wait a minute, their defense is pretty good too. And so I think it's just human nature. As a sports fan, you get caught up in the offense because it's one that scores the points. But this Toledo Christian defense is unbelievable.
Real deal.
Unbelievable.
Real deal. As Neil Schuller said in his email to us, Danbury has no shot against this Toledo Christian team, and I would agree. Their starters, maybe one game they played a little bit in the North Point Christian game, but other than that, their starters have not had to play in the second half of games.
Yeah, and that can be that could be frustrating, I would think. It's great to see all these other younger kids, and that's why their numbers and everything's healthy. A lot of kids getting opportunities there, but boy, if you're a gamer, man, you'd like to be able to play the whole thing sometimes. But I don't think it's going to happen again Friday. I agree with Neil. You always try to find an angle where a team may be able to give themselves a chance, but I'm just not seeing it here, buddy.
I'm not seeing it either. I think Toledo Christian's going to roll again in this matchup. 2 weeks from this Friday, they play Holgate at home on October 18th. That'll be the premier game, it looks like, in the Northern 8. We'll see what St. Mary's Central Catholic can do as the season progresses. Panthers may have an objection in there to that.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah. Sandusky, St. Mary's, and then Fremont Central Catholic, or Fremont St. Joe Catholic Central. Those are 2 teams that I think can help raise the bar in this area. The question is, in Fremont and Sandusky, will kids with 8-man programs there, will they gravitate to the 8-man program or not? It's going to be interesting to see, because if kids gravitate there, those 2 teams are going to elevate the profile of 8-man.
Speaking of the Tigers, 4-0 overall this season, 3-0 in the conference. They have Sebring coming to town that is 2-3 and 0-3. I like the Tigers to continue to roll in that match up as well.
Yep, give me Holgate there. They're going to be too much to handle at home. Too many weapons.
Yeah, I agree. Neil
Mendoza and Becker and Some of the other guys.
Reiner, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they have some dudes as well. So, yeah, give me Holgate in that one and give Neil Schuller Holgate. They have Concord, Michigan coming to town next week on October the 12th. That would be a Friday night, or is that a Saturday matchup as well? That'd be a Saturday game, it looks like, at Holgate, October the 12th.
Sounds like a new opponent to me. Concord, Michigan?
I think some of the teams around here have played Concord. I'd have to go back and look. But, yeah, I think that's a team that some of the Area 8-man teams have seen from the Wolverine State. On Saturday night, Chalker is at Stryker as the Panthers try to bounce back from that whipping that they took from Toledo Christian last Saturday night.
Well, each team has a win. Strikers at home. I just haven't seen enough from the Panthers. Don't know that they're quite stout enough until they prove otherwise. I'm going with Chalker in this one.
I'm going to go with Chalker as well, and Neil Schuller will also take Chalker. Catholic High School League action this week. Varsity Central Division. St. John's at Central Catholic. You look at the records, the Titans 0-6, 0-2. Central Catholic 5-1, 2-1. It's a series that Central has dominated here in recent years. I don't think that changes. I think they're going to roll on Cherry Street as they welcome in the rival Titans on Friday night.
Yeah, I think if you're St. John's, you set a series of realistic goals, maybe where you want to be at the half, and then at the end of the game, maybe some watermarks you hope to hit. But in all reality, they're going to be in survival mode, just trying to get through this one. And Central Catholic, a couple weeks away from that showdown we've talked about with St. Francis.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yep, give me Central in that one, and so does Neil Schuller. He likes the Titans in that one. Let's take a break. We'll come back and talk about the Varsity AA. Is St. Francis maybe perhaps their toughest test to date coming up? We'll talk about that one after this break, Coach.
Yep.
Hard-working individuals have been the heart of the Gerken companies for generations. Together, we construct the highways and infrastructure that strengthen our communities. Gerken is seeking rock-solid performers. We offer generous benefits, continuous training, top-notch equipment, and a culture that rewards effort. Want to be part of something big, steady, and stable with room to grow? Whether you're experienced or just starting your career, we encourage you to apply at gerkencompanies.com/careers.
Welcome back to the Black Swamp Football Podcast, presented by the Gerken Companies. CHSL Varsity AA Division this week. A big one up in Michigan for Josh Linke and St. Francis. The Knights 5-1, 1-0 at Lumen Christi, who is 4-1 and 2-0 so far this season.
When you
13-time state champions.
Yeah, but when you look at Lumen Christi, the teams they've beaten, Lynn, it's not impressive at all. 0-1, 0-1, 1-4, and then they have a win against 3-2 Divine Child last week. So their lone loss came to Pontiac Notre Dame. And I don't know what to make of this. I don't have enough of a sample size from Lumen Christi. Now, do you want to know what Cal Preps has this game at?
I would like to know.
Okay, it has Lumen Christi rolling in this game, and I don't stray very often from Cal Preps because they're normally pretty close. I have trouble, Cal Preps says 42-28. on a neutral field, Lumen Christi. Lumen Christi's at home. I'm going to do something I seldom do if I look at Cal Preps for a matchup. I'm going to go against them because I think there's certain things you can't measure with the metrics that they use and the simulations that they use. It's going to be a tall order on the road, but I just have a feeling Beal and company get it done somehow, and I'll be curious to see what the final ends up and how it compares to this 42-28 projection. But I've been burnt before going against St. Francis. I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to go with St. Francis.
Lumen Christi won the Division 7 state football championship last year up in Michigan. 13 state championships overall. I really wasn't decided on this one. Thought I may be able to pick up a game on you here. And I'm going to, because I'm going to go with Lumen Christi in this matchup.
That's a toss-up, especially with them.
With Cal Preps, I didn't look that up earlier, but now you told me that. They're usually not too far off.
They're usually they're within a whisker. And so it's hard for me when a gap is that big. I'll go against Cal Preps if it says 28-26, and maybe I know some background information on some injuries or something. Very seldom would I go against a Cal Preps pick with that wide a margin. But I'm going to, just because I believe in what St. Francis has rolling here, and I don't think they know how to lose. I really don't. So we'll see. You could get a game.
I'm going to pick one up on you, and I'm going to add to my lead on Schuller because he's taking the Knights as well.
Okay.
Hope I don't tick off Jermaine Polk and crew. I don't want to make him mad.
Well, it might be good for me and Neil if you make him mad.
Could be. But I think Lumen Christi's going to get this one.
All right.
I like them at home in this matchup in the CHSL Varsity AA Conference. Look over to the Western Buckeye League coach, Van Wert, at Ottawa Glandorf, who we talked about a minute ago. Van Wert, 1-5, has not won since their opener over Bryan. Ottawa Glandorf starting to find themselves a little bit, and the Titans are at home in this matchup as they try to get to 4-2 in the WBL and over the 500 mark do the Titans in this matchup.
I think this is a game where we could see multiple lead changes. Like, as we're doing the Liberty Center Patrick Henry game and we get updates, I think you're going to see a bunch of lead changes in this game because of Van Wert's quarterback and his ability to
Rustin Wise.
Yep. But when the dust settles, I think the Ottawa Glandorf Titans are able to get it done at home. But again, they're going to come from behind a couple different times in that game, I think. Give me the Titans.
I'm going to take the Titans too, but are they the team that didn't show up against Liberty Benton in the opener and fell 34-6? Wapak got them 42-14, but since then, they've beaten Elida 28-7, lost a 5-pointer to St. Mary's. And then last week, they just lamb-basted Lima Bath, who came in on a roll.
Yeah.
If OG keeps playing like they have been, I think they take care of business here in this matchup, and Neil Schuller is also going to take OG. I'm just not quite sure yet with OG. It seems like they found that groove and maybe their identity. We'd have to ask Ken Schreiner that, but...
Yeah. Momentum's a funny thing. It really is, especially when you're dealing with, if you're in the pros and some of these NIL deals now in college, you have other things to play for. You're playing for your livelihood, and that's a motivator in and of itself. But sometimes with high school kids that have other problems, in life, you just never quite know where they're at mentally. And once they're locked in and confident, they can be dangerous. I think that's what OG is right now.
Yeah, I think they are too. How about this one? Interesting matchup. Both teams 4-2. Bath 4-1 in the WBL. Salina is 3-2 in the WBL. Bath is at Salina in this matchup. Bath had been rolling after they lost to New Bremen, putting up 43, 49, 42, 62. Hadn't been playing great defense, though. They gave up 37 to Van Wert. They gave up 23 to Shawnee. They gave up 35 to Kenton. And then they gave up 56 to Elida. And then 26 last week to OG. Does the Bath defense come to play this week, or does Salina get this victory?
I can't pick against Salina at home. I was mildly surprised, although, Elida's solid.
Elida, yeah.
Mildly surprised. But I can't pick against Salina at home. I think they have too much left over from that football team last year in terms of, knowing how to win and handling adversity and that. So I'm going to go with Salina, but I do look for Bath to be better this week.
I'd like to get another game on you here, but I'm going to stick with my original pick of Salina. I'm going to stick with them. Can they bounce back, though? They lost to Elida 17-14 last week. I don't know. These are two teams that have a lot of question marks right now.
I know. It'd be easier for you if Bath wouldn't have got sanded by OG.
I would have taken Bath for sure, but I don't know. Neil Schuller's going to take Bath in this one.
He's taking Bath.
He's taking Bath.
He's going against us, huh?
He's going against us, yep. But I'm going to stick with Sline. I might have been able to pick up a game there, but Sline is at home. I think they'll get the job done in that matchup. Wapak, the final unbeaten in the Western Buckeye League, now in the driver's seat of the league. They are at Kenton. Kenton has played everybody tough this season, Coach.
Here's what I'll say about the WBL, Lynn. In every other league, like in the NWAL, Swanton will never beat Liberty Center, right? In the Blanchard Valley Conference, Arcadia could play Liberty Benton 500 times, and they would lose all 500 times. In the WBL, on the right night, on any given night, even the last place team in this league could beat the first place team. You look at Wapak 6-0, Kenton 1-5, and you think the gap is just miles apart. It's not. Like Kenton, if the cards fell correctly, Kenton at home could shock Wapak. They really could, and you cannot say that in almost any other league in the state of Ohio.
I think you're right on there.
You know, and so I'm gonna go with Wapak because I think you have to. But I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the halftime scores like 14-14 or 17-14 or something like that. I really wouldn't.
Kenton had the top passing offense going into last week. They're really good offensively. I think this one's going to be closer than what everybody thinks, but I'm gonna take Wapak to stay unbeaten.
Yeah, people going, what, 6-0, 1-5? WBL is a different animal. It just is.
Outside of their loss to Ottawa Glandorf week 2 for Kenton, they lost by 3 to Eastwood. They lost by 7 to Bath. They lost by 3 to Salina, and then they lost by 7 last week at a very good Defiance team that's playing their best ball of the season. I think Kenton is right there. They just can't get over that hump right now, kind of like what Wayne Trace has been here.
Actually, great comparison. Great comparison.
I think Wapak and Travis Moyer, I think they have enough to get the job done on the road, and Neil Schuller will take Wapak in that matchup as well. Defiance looking for their 5th straight win and to get to 5-1 and keep their WBL title hopes alive if somebody can trip up Wapak as the season progresses here. They have Elida coming to town, who is 2-4 and 1-4. Battle of the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and I think Defiance is probably happy that Elida has to come to Fred J. Brown Stadium. We actually, that was our game cast 2 years ago when Elida was at Defiance, and it was a good football game. Elida was improving as a program at that time. Defiance won that night, but I like Defiance in this game, but if they turn it over a couple of times and aren't disciplined, Elida could, just like the rest of the league, Elida could trip them up. But Defiance, I think they've hit their stride. They're not going to let down.
No, I don't think they will either. I'm going to take the Bulldogs at home in that one, and so is Neil Schuller, rounding out the Western Buckeye League this week. St. Mary's 4-2, 3-2 in the league at Shawnee, who has fallen to that 2-4 mark thanks to 4 straight losses, and really have been kind of dominated after they got off to that fast start, beating LCC 33-19 on a Thursday night, and then beating Elida 21-14. Since then, losing to Bath 49-23, Salina 23-3, Defiance 43-7, and then last week it was 28-0 to Wapak. Kind of reverted back to maybe what we thought Shawnee was going to be coming into the season, and I think the Rough Riders are going to be too much in that matchup.
Yeah, I do too. 10 total points in their last 3 outings is Shawnee.
Yeah.
And the 4-2 St. Mary's Memorial Rough Riders will go on the road and get it done. But again, in this league, nothing surprises me.
No, Shawnee can pull a surprise, but Neil Schuller is also going to take the Rough Riders in that matchup. Let's take another break, and we'll be back to talk about the NBC. American Freedom Energy in Grandma's General Store off Route 24 on State Route 109, just south of Liberty Center, now has 88 unleaded fuel and is your one-stop shop for fuel, food, drinks, and much, much more, including locally raised meats and home-baked goods. American Freedom Energy in Grandma's General Store is proud to support Black Swamp Football and is the host of the Black Swamp Football podcast, football show, and Saturday mornings Rise and Rewind. Stop in and see Glenn and Greg today and make American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store a part of your everyday routine. Thank you to the Bait and Hops for hosting us again on our podcast. They have been wonderful to us and just great hosts. Couldn't ask for much more here at American Freedom Energy.
Nope. They're always willing to lend a hand and allow us to come in here morning, noon, or night. And there's a lot of nights we've been here after hours, Lynn, and they are
Tonight
patient.
may be one of those.
Yeah,
with
very
this Ayersville crew rolling in here.
Very well could be.
A festive mood, but this place is open at about 5 a.m. when the coffee club rolls in here, and Monday nights we usually shut it down.
Yes, we do. And I'll tell you, as I was rolling in here today, man, a bunch of construction crews coming off of 24, loading up with some provisions for the evening, and place was hopping.
Yes, it is. It's always hopping in here.
Yeah, it is.
Yep, it's good to see. NBC action this week. We're going to start with Lake at Rossford. Two teams trying to get on the board in the conference with victories. Lake 2-4, Rossford 1-5.
Well, Rossford, boy, they've scuffled, man, and I don't know that they have met home, and Lake, I think Rossford probably sees this as one that's gettable, but Lake's looking to stack some wins, and I think it starts at Rossford. I like the Flyers.
I do too, and so does Neil Schuller. Genoa is at Maumee. Big game for the Panthers at home. Genoa 5-1, 3-0 overall in the NBC. Maumee 4-2, 1-2 in the conference so far. Four-quarter game.
I am going with the Maumee Panthers at home. I think this is the game where Maumee climbs a big hurdle in the Northern Buckeye Conference, and I struggled with it, but I'm going with the Maumee Panthers at home.
You are, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, so am I.
Are you?
Yeah, I like Maumee.
Over Genoa?
Yeah. They lost at Archbold.
Yep, agree.
I know they've been on a roll since then, but I think they get another loss this week
I do
at
too.
Kazmaier Stadium.
I do too.
Neil Schuller is with us on that call as well. Oak Harbor leading the NBC with Eastwood and Genoa, 6-0 overall. They are at Otsego at the Castle. Can the Knights pull off a little bit of an upset here?
Nope. You know, it's funny. I talked to Coach Craig Rutherford of the Otsego Knights at Bowling Green on Saturday. And he had watched, obviously, a lot of Oak Harbor film before he took his boys to the Bowling Green homecoming game. And they were leaving at about the end of the third quarter, and he was going to go watch some more film. And I said to him, Lynn and I covered their game at Maumee, and I said, Reidner just runs angry. And he said it's unbelievable how physical and nasty Oak Harbor is with their ground attack, and then they're equally as good on defense. He'll have a game plan, but they have his full attention, let's just say that. But I don't see any way Otsego can get it done. Oak Harbor's just a cut above the rest in that league. I like Oak Harbor.
I'm going to take Oak Harbor in that matchup, and Neil Schuller says the Rockets storm the castle and are too much for the Knights. Rounding out the NBC games from our area and our coverage area this week, Fostoria scuffling at Eastwood, who is still unbeaten on the season, as Sam Cotterman has the Eagles playing very good football in year 2 at the helm there.
Yeah, Eastwood's going to move to 7-0 here.
No doubt here.
Yeah, kind of a name your score game. You want to get out of there healthy. You want to stay sharp, work out some kinks and things like that. But Eastwood's going to be 7-0 after this one.
I think they will be too. I'm going to take Eastwood, and so is Neil Schuller. Blanchard Valley Conference, there is a big one in the BVC this week. We will get to it here in a couple minutes. Arlington, 3-3, 1-3 in the conference at Elmwood, who has yet to get in the win column. I'm going to take the Red Devils to get it done. Aiden Cavaney and crew, I think they'll put up some big numbers against the Royals.
Yeah, I do too. Arlington's one of the better teams in that second tier of BVC teams. They're kind of the top of the middle, I would say. And they'll go on the road and roll in this one.
Neil Schuller says the Red Devils get the W on the road as well. Lipsick is at Macomb, a matchup of 4-2 teams. Lipsick 3-1, still has some hopes in that BVC at Macomb, who is 2-2 in the conference so far this season. This was an interesting matchup, maybe 50-50.
Yep. Coin toss. But Macomb, it's not the same Macomb as the last couple of years, but Chris Algie's still the head coach. They still are very, very tough, blue collar. Both teams are going to be 3-2 in the BVC after this one. I think it's razor thin, but I will not pick against Macomb at home in a game this close. Give me the Panthers.
Okay. Give me Macomb as well, and Neil Schuller will also take the Panthers in that matchup. The big one this week in the BVC, reigning champion Liberty Benton is on the road at Pandora Gilboa. Both teams 4-0 in the conference so far. LB is averaging 34.8 points per game, have put up 852 yards rushing, 1,065 yards passing. Pandora Gilboa, similar, 25.3 points per game, and have rushed for 1,207 yards, thrown for 889 yards. LB has the top defense in the BVC, allowing 10 points per game, 602 yards rushing overall, and 451 passing. Pandora Gilboa has allowed 22.8 points per game, 723 yards rushing, and 913 yards passing. Does that help you make a pick?
I already have my pick, but I will tell you what's interesting, and I'm not going to stray from my pick here regardless of what this says, but I am curious what Cal Prep says. I did not look this one up. This one's interesting to me because it's at Pandora Gilboa, and I'm going to mention something else here when I see the score. 28-17, Liberty Benton, 28-17, and in the BVC, enough teams still have grass. Almost everybody outside of Liberty Benton in the BVC still has grass, so that's not as much of a factor. I don't think. I thought maybe playing on natural grass at Pandora may hamper LB a little bit after being spoiled with all the true footing on that turf, but they're going to get it done. I just think Liberty Benton has too much offense, Lynn. They can spread the ball around. Yep, both Elkerts.
Zach and Seth.
Yep, and I was impressed with their tight ends and a couple of their other receivers there. So I like Liberty Benton to get it done, but they're going to have their hands full. Pandora Gilboa is tough at home, always.
Yeah, I was going to say Liberty Benton by 8-10. So that perhaps is kind of what I would have kind of guessed for a line in this game. But I think LB does have just maybe on another level than Pandora Gilboa from what I've seen when they played Columbus Grove. Liberty Benton showed some fight, at least in the first half in that one. Grove kind of rolled Pandora in that matchup.
Yeah, they did, and I think the depth advantage goes to Liberty Benton too, and that's why I think throughout. Now it'll probably be fairly close at halftime.
I think it'll be a close into the fourth quarter. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, Neil Schuller is going to take Liberty Benton in that matchup as well. Going to come back and talk about the Northwest Conference, one game there this week after we hear from the Gerken companies again.
High school seniors, uncertain that college is right for you? Concerned about the cost of higher education? At the Gerken Companies, we offer rewarding livelihoods even without a degree. That's a good living straight out of high school with no tuition debt. Starting pay between recent college grads and those with high school diplomas is closer than you might think. So if you enjoy teamwork, working outdoors, and being part of something meaningful, consider your options at gerkencompanies.com/careers.
Welcome back to the Black Swamp Football Podcast presented by the Gerken Companies. NWC game this week that we're looking at from our area, Fort Loramie. First ever matchup against Columbus Grove. The Bulldogs come in 6-0, 3-0 in the NWC. Fort Loramie, first-year member of the Northwest Conference. They are 3-3 and 2-1 so far. Team that's traditionally been a very solid program. As we're kind of watching the Trenton Barraza yardage mark as he's getting closer to Blaine Mag as we wind down the season here. Blaine Mag, 921 rushes in his career, 6,134 yards overall in his career. Barraza he's inching up there.
Yep. Yeah,
see if he can get there here. They're gonna make a long playoff run. He needs 1,386 yards to tie Blaine Mag, who was the running back for Grove from 2001 to 04.
Yeah, and he can do it. One of the things that makes it a little more of a challenge is that he doesn't play a lot later in the games because Columbus Grove's been so dominant. But an extended playoff run, he's going to be knocking on the door.
He's got 4 more regular season games.
Yep.
I would say 4 more playoff games at least.
Yep, I would think so too.
So that's 8. It's going to be close.
Yeah, it's hard to bet against him. It's hard to bet against him, that's for sure. And Fort Loramie, don't be fooled by their 3-3 record. They have the type of kids and the type of community where they won't be in awe of Columbus Grove. I can tell you that. And even at 3-3, they're sitting at number 7 in the Division 7 Region 28 playoff ratings, and that is Marion Local's region. So you have the dubious honor of being in there with them. But still, 3-3. Grove wins. Grove wins this game, but they'll have to play. They'll have to play. Fort Loramie will be physical, and they'll demand Grove's best shot. I'll say that.
Grove has won 16 straight at Clymer Stadium. Ned Steckschulte tells us. Last loss versus Liberty Center in second round of the 2021 playoffs. Grove has won 24 straight regular season games. Last regular season loss was Allen East, 14-11 in 2019 at Clymer Stadium. Grove's record at Clymer Stadium is 115-34 since 1997. So they have lost a few. I know you say they never lose at Clymer Stadium. I just want to set the record straight there.
It's funny, Lynn. Columbus Grove, Liberty Center, 2 powerhouse programs in this area. Never churn out Division I dudes.
Yeah.
And I see so many of these Division I athletes that are, malcontents sometimes, not happy, jump in the portal, this and that. I would love to see Division I program sign Trenton Barraza, bring him in, say you're going to be a safety for us. Just for example, and they would be so happy if they did that. But so few Division I coaches are afraid to take that plunge. Well, he's only this tall. He doesn't run this. He doesn't. He plays at a Division 7 school. I would love to. Get a couple of those Grove kids, a couple of these Liberty kids.
Yeah.
They'll smack you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Jim Nunn's on the career rushing list at Columbus Grove. You remember Jim Nunn?
God, he was like a piece
Still
of steel.
have nightmares?
You know how when Drago's, duking it out with Rocky in the late rounds, and Drago tells his corner, he's like a piece of iron. That's how Nunn was. Grove guys, when you hit them or got hit by them, it felt different than everybody else during the regular season. I will say that even this many years later.
He had 3 3,110 yards to Jim Nunn. He is 5th on the career rushing list. Blaine Magg, 6,134. Trenton Barraza, 4,449. Jeremy Harnischweger, 640 attempts, 4,281 yards. Colin Metzger, who Liberty Center remembers from a couple years ago, he finished with 3,506 yards.
Yeah, Metzger was a blue-collar son of a gun. Saw him play Fairview, right? Grove locked horns with Fairview, the great Doug Rake's team there a couple years ago.
COVID year, right?
Yes. Yep. And boy, Grove's had some good ones.
Yeah.
They've had some good ones. I actually went down a rabbit hole yesterday with a couple of things. I told you about Tanks Memorial Stadium down at Ironton, some history there, but the 1999 of all games, this came up, you know, when you get on those rabbit holes, one link leads to another. Columbus Grove versus Lima Central Catholic, 1999 at Lima Spartan Stadium. And I found myself watching the whole first half of that game. It was crazy. I remembered a lot of the Grove guys from that era, 99. But boy, tradition.
Yeah. Trenton Barraza has 27 100-yard plus rushing games. He needs one more to tie Blaine Magg's record of 28. You see the numbers that Blaine Magg put up in 2002, their state championship season, 2,703 yards.
Unbelievable. I remember watching him in the state final. Yeah, he was a load. Man, he was so big and fast. It is.
Yeah, he had 440 his freshman year, 1,482 as a sophomore, junior year, 2,703, and then 1,509 as a senior. So his junior year, boy, that was big time yardage that season for Mr. Magg. Hopefully we can get him up here for the 100 Years of Grove football that's coming up here in a couple weeks on our KK Collision football show.
If he's able to, I'll bet you he will. If he is able to, if his schedule allows.
I heard, that he was going to try to make it.
Tremendous.
Steck Schulte, and I don't know who else. That'll be a good night as well.
It'll be a great night, and I think having Blaine Magg here for that would be similar to when we have Tommy Ward from the great Defiance teams here, guys that were so dominant and so tough and physical as a player, but you get them on the mic and they're very humble and very soft-spoken. That's how Blaine Magg would be.
Yeah, he was actually up for Mr. Football that year.
That's saying something, too, for people that know the history of that award. It's not every day a smaller school guy is on that list.
Very rare.
Very rare.
For somebody in a small town to be on that list, but man, he was an absolute dude back in the day for the Columbus Grove Bulldogs. Neil Schuller also going to take Columbus Grove as well will in that NWC matchup against Fort Loramie. Let's go to the NLL Buckeye Division this week, Coach. Northview at Springfield. Two teams with a combined one win. That is Springfield, who is 1-5. Northview is 0-6. Can the Wildcats get on the board against the Blue Devils?
If they are going to get on the board this year, it must be Friday night. But, Lynn, I've got news for you. It ain't going to happen. Springfield is the better football team. They are at home. When you look at the body of work of both teams, Springfield has had many, many more bright spots than Northview has. Will Northview have that extra shot of energy, knowing that this is one they can compete in? I don't know, but Springfield's too athletic and too physical. I like the Blue Devils at home.
I do too. Neil Schuller is also going to take Springfield in that matchup. Finley at Anthony Wayne. Generals, big win a week ago. Can't rest this week. Finley coming in 3-3. They haven't maybe played their best ball this season at times, have the Trojans, but I don't know that this isn't gimme for the Generals at home.
Nope, not a gimme, just because of the sheer athletes and size of school that Findlay has. They have some resources there, and but I look for more from Anthony Wayne, ground and pound. If Findlay's going to have a chance in this game, they have got to show up with their chin straps buckled and their shoulder pads tightened, because Anthony Wayne isn't going to throw it any more than they have to. They're going to continue to pound the football, and they do it a bunch of different ways. You know, Anthony Wayne's got a bunch of different schemes where they'll get you. I like Anthony Wayne at home, but they you know,
got to come to play.
Got to come to play.
Over.
Nope.
Yeah. I'm gonna take AEW as well in that matchup. Neil Schuller likes the Generals in that game. He says the Generals' dismantling of Whitmer last week was impressive and made me a believer. The ground game and swarming D will be too much for Findlay.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially at Schuller Stadium.
Findlay's going to need some big plays. If you watch some of their highlights, they've just real simple, quick screens, but yards after the catch have been big for Findlay. So Anthony Wayne's going to have to tackle in space. I'll tell you that, and I think they will, and they'll do it with a gang of guys.
Big game in the NLL Buckeye Division this week is at Perrysburg, where Whitmer will invade. Whitmer has to get a win in this matchup. Now 4-2 are the Panthers. Perrysburg 6-0, 1-0 in the NLL Buckeye Division. Bad time for Perrysburg to be playing Whitmer, or does it give them an advantage seeing some things that Anthony Wayne did a week ago to slow them down?
Yes and yes. I think it's Perrysburg's worse off this week since Whitmer got pounded a week ago. But they did kind of see a recipe for what it takes to knock off Whitmer. I think this game will be much closer than the Whitmer-Anthony Wayne game a week ago, but the last thing I'm going to do is make the mistake of picking against Dirk Connor and the Perrysburg Yellow Jackets at home. This is going to be a four-quarter affair, but I'm going with Perrysburg. I can't pick against them. They've been way too dominant defensively this year for me. Jackets.
This is Neil Schuller's NLL CHSL Game of the Week presented by Game 1. He said Whitmer last week looked particularly different from Week 2 than the squad that gave Central Catholic all they wanted. Perrysburg D has held teams to 5.8 points per game through 6 weeks, haven't given up more than 7 per game since Week 1 with 3 shutouts. Perrysburg similar in approach and style to Anthony Wayne, but Whitmer will bring a dogfight to Perrysburg. Neil not picking it since he's covering that one. I'm going to take Whitmer, baby.
Okay.
Get me another game on you right here.
You could, because let's be honest, and all the credit goes to AW a week ago. It absolutely goes to AW. But that might have been the wake-up call that you poked the bear, and now the Panthers are going to be wound up. But I'm telling you, the key to beating a team like this, you got to pound the rock. And Perrysburg will do that. Perrysburg will do that. And I think they're going to hang on and win a close one.
Ken Winters, Pat Gacciardo, come on, baby. You got to get me a win here this week to make up some ground.
How do we know, and obviously we don't have Neil here, I'd been curious how the weather affected Whitmer.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why you've got to be able to at some point
well, they
run the football.
It last week. They had been able to.
Yeah.
The first 5 weeks, but they could not against Anthony Wayne.
Yeah, Anthony Wayne's, and I was surprised at the margin, but I'm not surprised that Andy Brungard put a game plan together, and those kids were hungry, man. Perfect storm.
Yeah, it was. Let's move it over to the NLL Cardinal Division this week. Southview, 3-3 at Bowling Green, who fell last week in their NLL Cardinal Division opener against Clay. Southview was playing the City League a week ago as they get their first NLL Cardinal Division game as the reigning champs from a year ago. Bowling Green showed something playing with Clay a week ago. They got a chance in this one against the reigning champs.
They do, and more than a chance. This would be that statement win, that signature win that has been elusive for Bowling Green. And for about the last couple days in my mind, I had BG circled here, especially being at home. But one thing I can't get out of my head and I know this was 6 weeks ago or whatever, but the pounding that Otsego put on BG, and I know BG had a new coach, but so did Otsego, so that's a wash. I can't pick against Southview here. They have gone through Murderer's Row, and it's almost like a rebirth, a new season, and those teams that play that gauntlet, I think, get that feeling, and I think Southview's very, very dangerous in this game. I like Southview.
I do too. I kind of struggled with this one and what BG did against Clay a week ago. Did the weather have an impact on Clay's offense, chucking around with Mason Heinchel and that great receiving crew?
Yeah.
Southview, I think they have some injuries. I don't know how healthy they are. They're banged up, but I think they have that experience factor and that championship mentality to get it done this week.
Yep.
I think they go to Bowling Green and get the victory. Neil Schuller is also going to take Southview. He said BG took Clay to the wire last week, but won't repeat that this week against the Cougars. Okay. Also in the NLL Cardinal Division, Clay at Fremont Ross. A matchup of 1-0 NLL Cardinal Division teams. Clay, the victory over BG. Fremont Ross, big win over Napoleon a week ago to get their second win overall. This could be a big lift for the Little Giants if they could get this one.
It could, and they could, but I don't think they will. I thought Napoleon was traveling into dangerous territory last week. I just didn't get the sense that Napoleon was locked in like they maybe should have been, and Fremont Ross was like a wounded animal.
Well, you didn't pick the Little Giants?
No, I didn't. But I said that it was going to be dangerous for Napoleon, and it was. And so I'm not surprised. I wasn't going to pick against the Cats because I picked them to win the division, so I couldn't pick against them.
Okay.
But Napoleon should have won that game probably, but they got down 20-0 in that game, and so that's on them. I don't think Fremont Ross duplicates it. I think Clay, what you saw last week, their struggles in a close game with BG, you're going to see the opposite this week. Outlier. I think Heinchel and company goes off. I don't think Ross has enough offense to keep up with him.
Okay. I like Clay as well. So does Neil Schuller in that matchup. Let's take another break and hear from the Swanton Welding Company. The Swanton Welding Company proudly supports our local student athletes and coaches. We're committed to being your local steel fabrication company in Northwest Ohio and building projects across the country. For job opportunities at the Swanton Welding Company, visit www.swantonweld.com or visit them at 407 Zider Way in Swanton. Welcome back to the Black Swamp Football Podcast presented by the Gerken Company's Green Meadows Conference action this week. Before we get to our picks, Tenora in the driver's seat now.
Yep.
Are the Rams in control, or can they find some rough waters here in the final month of the season?
I think they're the team to beat right now, but Paulding has a couple of the most dynamic athletes that we've covered this year with the Mans brothers. They're really good. They could get them. Paulding could get them, but until then, Tenora is driving the bus right now in the GMC. I believe that. And, no one's proven otherwise. Tenora's 4-2, should be 5-1. Are they 4-2 or 3-3? My sheet here says 4-2.
Oh, they're 3-3.
Okay.
3-3.
Okay. Yeah. Should be 4-2.
Yeah. Liberty Center, Archibald, and Otsego.
Otsego, yes. Forgot about the Knights. Okay. Yeah. Tenora's in charge here, I think, and the biggest hurdle for them is going to be Paulding. And that'll be a dandy. But the Rambos find a way to win.
Yeah, they have. Yeah. Yep. We're going to start the Green Meadows Conference picks with Edgerton at the aforementioned Paulding Panthers. Edgerton 4-2, 2-1. Paulding 5-1 and 2-1 in the GMC after the loss a week ago to Fairview.
You know what's funny, Lynn? What seeing a team for yourself, what seeing with your own eyes can do for you. Prior to seeing Paulding in person, I might have struggled with this pick, and I'm being honest with you, but after seeing Paulding in person last week and seeing that defense and some of their actual personnel and the physicality and talent of some of those guys, I won't make that mistake. Edgerton's walking into a hornet's nest. Give me Paulding. I thought Paulding was really, really well coached, too. Jim Menzies a guy I didn't know much about. A lot of the coaches in the area I know very well. I don't know Jim Menzies that well. I was curious to see schematically, kind of how they did things, and I just sat there going, wow, there's so much to like about this program from the coaches on down, and I'm not picking against them. I'll have trouble picking Tenora against Paulding.
Will you? You don't think there's any lingering effects from that loss a week ago to Fairview for the Panthers?
I don't. I think Tenora will be better for, or Paulding will be better for it. I really do. They are so hungry, and they just didn't have enough bullets last week, but I think they're going to be a handful. I could see them going 9-1.
Yeah, they were impressive. I liked how they played as well last week, Coach. Yep. I'm going to take the Panthers in that matchup. Neil Schuller also going to take Paulding in that game. Hicksville at Ayersville. Pilots bringing back all of their former players this week to celebrate the 50 years of football there. I know they have a pregame festivities at Limber's Barn down the road from Craig McCord Field. All the alumni are coming back. Does that galvanize Andrew Mickey and his crew as the Aces come to town?
It has to.
And I know if we're going to talk to Coach McCord here later tonight, one of the big wins that kind of got that program going was beating Hicksville. I think in the late 80s, maybe 78, from talking to him over the years, but it was right in there in the late 70s when Hicksville was really good, and Ayersville beat them, and that kind of put the program on the map and got them going. They have the Aces come to town this Friday. Does that give them some juice with all those guys coming back?
I think it does. This is, if Ayersville's going to get one, this has got to be one of those that's possible. But the pregame stuff, I thought about it a lot over the years. I saw Coach McCord actually post it on social media. The gathering before and after the game, and the players meeting, the former players meeting the current players outside of the locker room, forming a tunnel. I think there's going to be a ton of emotion, but when that foot hits the ball for the opening kickoff, I don't know how much that matters then. Now, if the former players are on the sidelines kind of, hooting and hollering a little bit, I think that can maybe be sustained. But, some of the best rah-rah speeches before a game are forgotten when toe meets leather. And I'm going with Hicksville, although I think Ayersville will play inspired. Those kids, they have to play inspired, man. You talk about tradition and playing for those who came before you. It's going to be on display Friday night. So I expect Ayersville to play their best game of the year.
Neil Schuller taking the Aces, but the Pilots going to get win number 1.
You going with them?
Yep. I'm all in this week. Either I'm going to make my comeback against you or I'm going to fold. I could be buried after this week.
You could be, or
I could be in front of you next week at this time, and then you know what happens. I don't give up the lead.
Yeah.
I'll go to my running game. I'll run out the clock on you, Strock. I'm not like some of these coaches who don't know how to clock manage at all levels.
You're not going to be snapping the ball with 18 on the play clock? When you're up by 3 scores
and you're snapping the ball with 25 on the play clock, what are we doing?
You're preaching to the choir, brother.
Sharon Moore, one of them at Michigan, he's my head coach up there. What are we doing snapping the ball when you're up that much? With 20 seconds on the play.
I'll tell you why.
Why?
All gas, no brakes. All gas, no brakes. That's how we do things. Yeah. There's also a common sense factor.
It's football 101. What are we doing? And I'm seeing it at high school, college, maybe not so much in the NFL, but high school and college, all these teams that like to, run that NASCAR offense. Well, we're up 28. We're going to keep scoring. Well, you're up 28 points with 10 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Run the clock.
Yeah. You can score if you want to, but snap the ball.
Yeah. Still run your offense, but don't snap the ball with 20. Or better be under 5.
Yeah, amen, dude. You're preaching.
About driving me nuts.
You're preaching. Does Ayersville still have Tory and Knieven?
They do.
They have a chance. He's a dude. They just, his supporting cast, graduated, and they're young in spots and things, but if they have Tory and Knieven, they have a chance, but I'm still going to go with Hicksville. We'll see if you can get one on us.
I'm going to get one here.
All right.
Torrin's going to go for about $1.75.
He might.
2-3 scores.
He very well might.
Pilot's going to get that maybe a passing touchdown thrown in there on a play action or something.
They could.
Or I could get burned by Justin Davis and the Aces, because
that could happen too.
Could happen too. Yeah.
Boy,
I'm not sure.
Look for Ayersville to be inspired, I would think.
They should be.
Yeah.
They should be. Also in the Green Meadows Conference this week, Fairview galvanized by that win against Paulding a week ago. They are at Antwerp. The Archers scuffling a little bit, 0-3 in the GMC, 2-4 overall. The Apaches are impressive.
Yep.
William Zedike can chuck it around. He's got some shake when he runs it. Yep. Gavin Garza in the backfield back there with him. Logan Olinger. Yep. Gavin Mead.
Yep. Garza just a sophomore.
Yeah.
Boy, he's got some shake, and he goes 0 to 60.
They can get that running game going a little bit, Fairview.
Yep.
I don't know if they can be beat the rest of the way.
Yeah. And then you factor into the running game Zedike back there. And if you kind of like Kyler Sapp at Eden, if you rush too far upfield and create those running lanes, he'll burn you. He's a really good young quarterback, but I was impressed. I told you how impressed I was with Paulding. I was in some ways equally impressed with Fairview. They've got some individual players that'll just knock your block off. I mean, Brody Williams, sophomore, 6'1", 170. He was our dog of the game, Black Swamp Safe Pet dog of the game. He is a dog. He will knock you into next week, and Garza's all over the place on defense, and Olinger, as you mentioned. Fairview's a real deal. They are, and they're young. They're older up
on the
front,
line, yeah.
But in the skill positions,
Paulding's kind of the same way.
Yep, correct.
Young at the skill positions, a little more veteran in the trenches. I don't think Fairview has any problem in this game.
Nope, I like the Apaches
especially with nice weather. They're going to be tough to slow down in nice weather. Neil Schuller also going to take Fairview in that matchup. Final game in the Green Meadows Conference this week. Tenora, now at 500, 3-0 in the GMC at Wayne Trace. Watch out for the Raiders here, buddy.
Yep.
This is a sneaky game.
Yes, it
where
is.
the Raiders could get one. Raiders 2-4, 2-1 in the GMC. They get this one. Boy, does that throw a wrench into the conference standings.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Wayne Trace has played everybody tough. We know it's been well documented, and they're sitting at 17th in the region right now at 2-4, sitting at 17th. A win tonight, and then they have Antwerp next week. I mean, they can get 2 of their next 3 after Tenora. If they win this game, they're going to play in the postseason. And close but no cigar for the Raiders the last couple years.
Division 6, Region 22.
Yep.
To clarify where they're at in the playoff picture.
Very good. Yep. A win over Tenora will catapult them into the postseason, and that would be a shot in the arm for that football program.
If the Raiders can get this win, who is your GMC pick then? Or is it multiple?
I think it's a tie.
Going to be like last year when we had
a
3
log
of them?
jam. Yep. I think it would be. I really do.
The remaining schedule, obviously, Tenora has to go to Paulding yet.
Yep.
But boy, this one.
Oh, they could throw a wrench in it, the Raiders, couldn't they? Help their own cause for postseason talk, and then
when do they have Fairview? Week 9 to the Raiders?
Go back to it here. Fairview week 9. Fairview week 9.
That could be a big one.
Yeah.
If the Raiders could get it, but I don't think they're going to. I like the Rams.
I'm going with the Rambos, but I will be curious as we're down there in Hamler getting our updates, where we're at, middle of the second quarter, halftime. Are the Raiders within striking distance? Can they corral Graziani? I mean, he's one of those guys that's circled on everybody's scouting report, but he's hard to contain.
Yeah.
Can they do that? And this is a new young quarterback from Tenora that's taken over the reins from Graziani. My sources tell me he has an absolute cannon for an arm, can just sling it. And I have not seen him. I'm just going on what I've heard.
You got some sources, huh?
I do.
Working the phone lines?
It's a gentleman you know very well, too. He's a big Black Swamp supporter. And
you don't have to reveal it.
I won't reveal it, but I may tell you off the air, or I may not, but said this kid can sling it. And so I'm curious to see him eventually myself.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that info. Not going to change my pick, though.
Well, there's signs on the door that say podcast going on, keep door shut, and Craig McCord is waiting patiently. And if anyone can ignore the sign, it's Craig McCord. We're wrapping things up here, Coach, and we're looking forward to talking with you, buddy.
There's going to be a whole bunch. They're all
Yeah, they're snooping around here. Here comes
the whole crew.
They're looking for some bottled water.
Well, that's the guy we needed to ask about the Fairview Apaches right there. He didn't get here early enough.
He would know, but I don't think he's going to reveal too much to us.
No, he's not.
Let's wrap this up as the pilots are rolling in here for the coaches show.
Yes, we do. Let's move it over to the NWAL this week, Coach. Archbold 3-3, 1-2, coming off that loss to Evergreen. They're at Swanton. They can't lose to Swanton, can they?
No, but no one's been more inconsistent than the Blue Streaks. And when that happens, Lynn, it's a combination of things, and you kind of plug this hole, and then there's another leak over here, and you plug this hole, and you think you're good, and then another one springs. And that's kind of been Archbold's MO this year, but they get healthy on the road at Swanton this week, who did show a little bit of mettle late in that game against Delta. I know it was 28-0, but maybe they got a little bit better last week. I like Archbold.
I do too. I think Archbold gets back on track, and the way they've been splitting wins and losses, they're going to continue that. And Neil Schuller says the same thing. Talking about the Vikings of Evergreen, they have Bryan coming to town. The Golden Bears winless this season. Vikings continue to ride that high.
Yeah, they do, and boy, it's not very often you'd say Evergreen's a prohibitive favorite against the Bryan Golden Bears, but this year they are. I mean, how do you pick against them? Evergreen has shown a lot more bright spots than Bryan has, and I mean, this is one that's not out of the realm of possibility that Bryan could go on the road and get it, but they've just been too inconsistent. I like Evergreen at home.
I like Evergreen as well. Neil Schuller does as well in that one. Delta at Wauseon. The Indians have struggled. Delta, under Mike Vickers, has rallied the troops and playing some good football. Improved.
And Wauseon was unable to even slow Patrick Henry's rushing attack a week ago. And if you're struggling to stop the run, Delta is not who you want to see. Panthers with just that one loss, they're going to continue to get better, and I think they roll at Wauseon.
I agree with that pick. Our three-chord game cast this week is going to take us to Big Red Stadium as Liberty Center visiting Patrick Henry. Liberty Center 6-0, 3-0 in the league. Patrick Henry also 3-0 in the NWAL. The Patriots' only loss is to Columbus Grove. Since 2018, this has been all Liberty Center. The last time PH won this matchup was 2018, 34-19. Since then, Liberty Center 35-13 in 2019. 2020, it was 35-21. Tigers 2021, it was 28-18. LC 2022, all Liberty 43-6. And last year, 62-0 over at Rex Lindgren Stadium right down the road as the Tigers rolled in that one. LC has outscored their foes 269-14. PH has outscored their foes 226-39. Stat-wise, they're pretty similar here. LC has allowed 359 yards on 132 rushes. PH has allowed 371 yards on 179 rushes. LC has rushed for 1,838 yards and 26 TDs. PH has also rushed for 26 touchdowns. They have 1,614 yards on the ground. LC has allowed 51 of 115 completions for 480 yards, and PH has been really good against the pass, allowing just 29 completions and 69 attempts for 287 yards. Obviously, we're not picking this one as we're calling it. give us a little insight here. We have not seen Liberty Center yet this season.
No, we haven't. So a year ago, it was 62-0.
62-0, yeah.
I know some things have changed.
43-6 2 years ago.
Okay, so some things have changed roster-wise at both schools.
105-6 the last 2 years.
It's a lot of ground to make up.
Can the Patriots make up some of that?
I think, as I said earlier, it's going to begin and end with the Patrick Henry defense. And they've got to be ready to, I mentioned having your chin strap buckled when you get off the bus. Finley and Anthony Wayne, Patrick Henry better have them buckled and be ready to just slug it out with Liberty for 4 quarters. If they're not ready to pay that price and slug it out, then nothing else is going to matter. So they've got to get Liberty Center off schedule. If Liberty Center is in 2nd and 5, 3rd and 1 all night long, lights out. If Patrick Henry can get him behind the chains and make him a little uncomfortable, they've got a chance. And then the question becomes, is Patrick Henry's offense diverse enough to score enough to beat Liberty Center? It's been a lot of Lincoln Kreger, some Grant Smith, a little bit of Jaden Rudder, some Trent Johnson in the passing game, a little bit to their wideouts, but they're going to have to find some ways to move the ball, because I think yards between the tackles, even as good as Lincoln Kreger's been, are going to be tough to come by against that Liberty Center interior. So, but Patrick Henry's going to have a game plan that's going to put their guys in position. They're going to have a chance by alignment. They're going to have a chance by scheme. Executing it is a whole nother thing. But the Patriots are at home. They're getting, no one's giving them a chance, let's be honest.
Neil Schuller is.
I know he is. I read his comments.
He's picking the Patriots. He picked him in the preseason.
Picked him to win the league.
He's going to stick with them here this week.
Yeah.
Now, 5 turnovers is not going to get it done this week. You may see a 62 type score for Liberty Center if PH does that again like they did at Columbus Grove. Yeah,
if that happens, it's going to be an avalanche. And but if they protect the football and play defense, they're going to have a chance. And that's all you can ask for, especially against Liberty in the modern day. So I'm jacked to be there, and I'm just curious to see how this one's going to unfold. Is PH going to be there in the second half and have a chance, unlike last year? But Patrick Henry had faced some adversity, with losing Nashmeyer, and was Lincoln's first game there at quarterback. So I'm tickled. We'll see.
Is there a mental aspect here for the Patriots?
Yes.
A hurdle for them?
Yes.
The way they've gotten smacked the last 2 years?
Yes, because when you take the field against Liberty, there's going to be some painful moments, and Saturday morning is going to be a little rough. Are you willing to endure that for 48 minutes with no guarantees? You may put yourself through all that and still come up short. Are you willing to do it? We know the Liberty kids are. Is PH willing to do that? And it can't just be 2 or 3 of the guys willing to sacrifice. It's got to be an entire team, and if they're willing to do that, it's going to be an absolute battle. But we'll see. There is a mental aspect. I think that's a fair question.
6:30 pregame on Friday night. Tune in then from Big Red Stadium, and a kickoff coming up at 7 o'clock as the Gamecast this week presented by 3Court. We're going to take our final break, come back, and break down 3 non-conference games this week. Ready to hit the links? Grab your clubs and head to White Pines Golf Course at 1640 County Road 2 in Swanton. For a tee time or to sign up for their events, call 419-875-5535 or visit whitepinesgc.com. Also, sign up for their early membership of $885 or $796.50 for seniors 55 and older. Early membership is play now, and greens fees are covered for the rest of 2024 and all of 2025. When you play White Pines Golf Course, the experience will exceed your expectations. Thank you to White Pines Golf Course, also the title sponsor of Rise and Rewind on Saturday morning. What time do we want to?
8 a.m.
8 a.m. again?
BG's at Akron. I'm going to make the trip to Akron, see if if they can pick up the pieces after that loss last week. 3:30 kickoff, but I'd like to go at 8 a.m. so I can take my time.
Okay.
8 a.m., Rise and Rewind.
Okay, 8 a.m., Rise and Rewind on Saturday morning. You can always hear it later in the day on our archive on blackswampfootball.com. 3 non-conference games this week. Napoleon playing their City League matchup outside of the NLL Cardinal Division this week at Bowser. Will the Wildcats have any issues in this one?
No, they won't have any issues, but, I could see Bowser popping a kick return, popping a punt return, something like that. But Napoleon's they've just got to shore some things up. And I think this week is more about Napoleon than it is their opponent as far as getting back to the fundamentals and blocking and tackling, because they probably took a step backwards last week against Fremont Ross. And so I think if you talk to Tyler Swear, he would tell you it's about cleaning some things up. And I think Napoleon rolls in this game. But, to me, just winning isn't good enough because they're probably going to win. They need to correct some things.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Right? Yeah, they're all over the place.
Where are they at mentally right now?
I know it.
Got that big win over Defiance to start the year, and I don't know that they've fed off of that here the last 5 weeks.
No, it's hard to explain, but they're going to have to figure it out going forward. You still have Clay on the horizon, Bowling Green, Southview.
Doesn't get any easier.
No, those are even games.
No. Neil Schuller also going to take Napoleon. I'll take the Wildcats in that matchup. Richmond Heights is at Montpelier. This isn't basketball. No. The Locos going to get the victory here.
Yeah, it's going to be a long bus ride back home to Richmond Heights. I just hope. Yeah, it's kind of weird. We talked a couple weeks ago about Richmond Heights' schedule and kind of how that's unfolded in that. But the Locos have something to feel good about after this one. I like Montpelier at home.
I do too. So does Neil Schuller. Last game this week, Summerfield, Michigan, 4-1 at North Central. Eagles are 2-4. Summerfield going to be too much in this matchup, I think.
Yeah, I think Summerfield's a good football team, to be honest with you. North Central picked up a couple wins after starting out a little rough, and good for them. But Summerfield, I think, rolls in Pioneer, Ohio.
I agree. Neil Schuller going to take Summerfield. That rounds out week number 7. Boy, does seem like week number 7 already, does it? Into the final month here.
No, I remember week 1. I remember our kickoff show very well.
Yeah.
And here we are, heading down the stretch, some league races shaping up, and
really shape up this week, and
can
to start talking some playoffs here in the next couple weeks. It's creeping up on us. Tune into our KK Collision Football Show, Ayersville's 50 years celebration this week.
Man.
It's going to be good. We got Craig McCord here. Matt Ripke's walking in right now. Bill Andrus, Chuck Florence, Don Hammersmith, John McCord. Boy, we might be here all night. You might miss the Lions game, Coach.
It'd be worth it. If I were going to miss the Lions game for anything, it'd be talking to Craig McCord and all the people associated with the history of Ayersville football. One of the flagship programs, Lynn, in my opinion, when we're talking small school football in Northwest Ohio.
You don't have your notebook here.
I did not write down a single question.
That's not like you.
I'm just gonna roll with the punches tonight.
Okay.
I am.
Okay, sounds good.
I am.
Saturday morning, Rise and Rewind, 8 a.m. If you want to listen live. Later in the day, you can go to our archive on blackswampfootball.com. Have a great week, and good luck to all the teams here as we go into week 7. Have a great week.